Good evening, and welcome to the 33rd actually episode of LIVRESQ Empower Your Teaching. This is a webinar destined to show you what LIVRESQ can do in terms of creating digital materials, digital lessons, or courses, because this is an e-learning authoring tool. And we have a very exciting topic for tonight. We're going to talk about the options LIVRESQ has for accessibility and how to make content more accessible. We'll keep this meeting quite short unless there are questions, of course. Again, I'd like to remind you that if you're here with me on Zoom or whether you're watching us on Facebook, please feel free at any point to interrupt me, ask questions. Get in touch directly. And if you're watching a recording of this, I know there are a few of you who are watching these as recordings because you probably can't make it to at the time we've allocated for the webinar. Please leave a comment and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, so talking about accessibility and what options we have, I'm going to show you these options on specific resources as well as on the entire project, because there's an array of things you can do to make content more accessible in LIVRESQ, and some of them are offered by default, which is really handy when it comes to creating a project and not needing to worry about making certain settings. If we start with these, I'm going to show you from the get-go. So everything I'm going to demonstrate tonight is on an empty project. We call project our final, or the course or material that we're going to create in LIVRESQ. We call it project technically. So when you set up a new project, this is what it looks like. It's an empty project. There are other ways to start in LIVRESQ. You can also start from a template, or you can just give me 1 second. Here we go. Or you can always use AI to start your project. But I'm working on a completely empty project, which means that there is no content here. In terms of accessibility, if we go into view mode to see what this looks like, so no content, but we still have this top bar over here with a few buttons. And right from the get-go, unless you delete one of these buttons, because there is this option that these buttons don't show up here, and I've done a webinar, I think 2 webinars ago, we talked about how to add buttons on this top bar. Unless you change anything, by default, you'll have this preferences button on the top bar over here. And once you click it, the user can change the size of the text to suit their needs. So if they need the text, and this applies to all the text inside a project, if they need to increase the font size, they can do so straight from here. So it doesn't really matter what size you select, because they will have the possibility to make the text bigger. And this is really handy, and that's why we encourage you not to get rid of this button. It can also reset the progress. This applies to LMS, to an LMS platform where you've exported the lesson, or if you're using the lesson inside the LIVRESQ library, this is also a very handy button to have. So you can decrease, the user actually can decrease and increase the size automatically according to their needs. You can even say this, direct them to this button. If you think that they're going to need this button, you can add a text inside any bit of your course to say, look, there's a button up here called Preferences where you can select the font size. So it can be like a little guide. We sometimes do this when we create bespoke courses using LIVRESQ. We sometimes do this and explain in a guide at the beginning of maybe a longer length course that there is a possibility to change the font size to suit their needs. Otherwise, the text that you add to your project in any form or text box, unless you select a different size for that text, it will automatically be part of making content responsive. So it will automatically resize on any device. And again, we have previous webinars where I went into details about what responsive means and what we can do to, or actually how the platform makes materials responsive by default, again, not needing any type of effort from you. So right from the start, unless you change anything about the project, the user can make the text bigger or smaller. Now, the rest of the options we're going to go into require you to add input. And I'm going to start with images because we do have the possibility to add alternative text to an image. So to add an image to my project, I'm just going to drag and drop it here. And if I double click my image and go into view mode, right under the image, I have the possibility to add alternative text. There are many tools nowadays that write that alternative text for you. So in different platforms, you can just input that image. If not, you can just use this box to fill in the alternative text that you need for your images. Again, the alternative text, or actually not again, I haven't explained this. If the alternative text is what a person who has any sort of visual challenges will hear read by the software to help them navigate the web. So again, if you're trying to make inclusive, accessible materials, it's really important that you fill this in with something. And this works no matter where you add an image. So if we wanted to add an image inside a text box, which again, we've shown this possibility to add images, we can configure, I'm just going to quickly add a stock image. I'm sort of moving fast forward through these settings, but if you need me to stop and show you something again, then I can go slower and show you how to add an image or anything like that. I'm just moving faster so that we can focus on accessibility options and sort of show you what can be done. So this was me adding an image inside a text box, not as an image, a standalone image, if you will. It works in the same way if you add an image to your quiz or any other resource. And if you go under Advanced, we click on the little cogwheel here, we can show configurations which also feature alternative text. So this is a place where you can easily add alternative text, a description for your image, even if that image is not a standalone image added by dragging and dropping from the content side, but it is an image integrated into other apps. And again, this is very handy, and this is a very easy way to make materials accessible. Speaking about that top bar and returning a little bit to that, besides this button, if you need to add any other items of content or any other buttons to help the users navigate them more easily, again, I've covered how to fully configure this top bar in a previous webinar. So go watch that video. Again, I don't think it's longer than 20 minutes, where you can see how to add different buttons and what kind of buttons you can add, because the possibilities are actually endless in terms of how to make the content more user-friendly. Right, so besides alternative text, we also have the possibility to cater to multiple learning styles or to cater to multiple preferences in terms of going through content. And we have the opportunity to add subtitles, of course. But it's not just subtitles in one language. You can add subtitles in multiple languages. And this is actually what I want to show right now. I just added a video from the left-hand side inside my project. To edit that video, I will double click it. And now, under the properties on the right-hand side, I have the option to add subtitles, which can either be written straight to LIVRESQ or they can be imported. So if you have subtitles that were automatically, maybe or not automatically, that were already created in a different tool, if you have subtitles for your videos, you can import the SRT file here, and you can give your subtitle file a label. So for instance, if I wanted to say what language it is, I can just say English or EN. And then I can add another item, another subtitle file, or I can create another subtitle translation or variant here. And then I can maybe turn it into Romanian or any other language, French, whatever. I just need to write the label out loud. I just need to spell out the label, write it myself. So now, supposedly, if I had imported SRT files, I would have had two subtitle tracks, one in English, and one in Romanian. When the user views the video, they have the possibility to choose if the captions are in English, Romanian, or disabled. So we can add multiple tracks if you need to create content destined for multiple languages, but you also need maybe descriptive subtitles, which are a must in almost all tools and all items of content nowadays. You can very easily add them, and it works just like Netflix or any other video streaming platform where the user can actually choose the language of the subtitles. So you can 100% do that. Um, Again, I recommend that you leave all these settings. There's also a button where the user can enable or disable the captions. If you select compact here, then this will essentially get rid of the progress bar and also get rid of the options for subtitles. So unless you really need for there not to be a bar, unless you really don't want that bar there, don't select this option. Just leave it as it is, and this allows you to add multiple subtitle tracks. You can delete, remove these just as easily as we've added them. So this removes the label and this removes the entire item. We have two possibilities. So we can either just remove the title instead of deleting what's written here. I have this button to remove the title, and then I can also remove the entire subtitle track and it's gone. And then if I remove this one as well, I need to remove it from up there. I no longer have subtitles and my options have disappeared. Now you might have seen when I very quickly showed you how to change the subtitles. You might have seen that you can also select different speeds, which is again a very handy accessibility option. The fact that you can select the speed with which the video plays. This is useful for people who maybe are learning a second language or who have some difficulties in hearing. They can actually control the speed of the video, make it slower or obviously make it faster. I have a lot of friends who go through videos a lot faster, so they actually increase the speed. If the user clicks on speed, they have all of these options here, so they can make it up to 2 times faster. They can slow it down quite a bit as well. These are video options, and we went through videos and images. What's very important as well is that you can use text-to-speech or other advanced features to also make text more accessible. So if you have larger chunks of text and you want to maybe dictate how it's read and read it yourself or use a tool that you like or have some control, because of course people who have difficulty seeing will have software that reads that text to them. But if you want to have control over that, you can add a chunk of text and then add an audio next to it that reads it either automatically or if the user clicks play. So very quickly to demonstrate this, I'm going to add a row with 2 cells. In one of them, I'm going to add a text box, and in one of them, I'm going to add an audio. Now, I could have added this audio under the text box, so it doesn't really matter. Just very quickly, I'm going to eliminate this top bar. Give me 1 second. So I've hidden the top bar. I just now have this progress bar for the audio. I can have any text I want here. I'm very quickly going to generate text using AI and maybe give me some facts about AI very quickly. There we go. I'm going to add this. And then I can generate audio. I can just copy and paste this, go into the audio file by double clicking it, click on change I can, of course, upload an MP3. I can read it myself if I want the course to feature my voice, but I can also use AI to generate audio for that text, thus offering multiple ways of going through the content. And you can add transcripts of audio or the other way around. The idea is that both these resources, which are essentially quite simple resources, text and audio, can help enhance understanding in people who learn differently or who prefer to consume different types of content, or even who may not have access to reading and will have a software reading it to them. But this way, I choose Emma's voice, I generate.
AI or artificial intelligence can analyze data faster than humans, learn from experience, and improve over time. It powers applications like virtual assistants, recommendation systems, and autonomous vehicles.
Right. And if I'm okay with that, if I'm okay with that voice, I can just click on save. I can click autoplay, although we don't really encourage that, which means that whenever the learner reaches this point, the audio will automatically start playing. It's good to give the learner control over whether they want to hear it or not. Then I can just add a text play to hear that or anything like this. So if I go into view mode, they have the text here,
AI or artificial intelligence.
and then they can also hear it by playing it. So this is a very handy option. Again, we could have added, we can change the speed here. It's not visible because it's too high up, but we can change the speed of the audio as well. So multiple options. We do this as well using the assistant. So the assistant or the speech resource can read out the text that is on the screen. If I just wanted to him to read out the text that is already on the screen, I don't need to paste it again in the content box. I can just generate audio for him.
AI or art.
Click generate and save. I've already generated. It's a female voice. I don't need this anymore. I'm just going to move it down. And then if I go into view mode,
AI or artificial intelligence.
my assistant will read this out so that I make sure that the person who's going through the lesson, my learner or my user, can also hear the text. So it's important to give users, to give learners multiple options, and you can 100% do that in LIVRESQ, besides the more hidden possibility to add alternative text, which again won't be obvious unless people look for it or have software that goes through it, and adding subtitles, which is also very, very handy. Now, in that top bar that I've talked about in the beginning,
AI or artificial intelligence.
I should have done that first. I also have another option, which is more related to preference than accessibility per se, but I can actually add sound control, which allows me to turn the sound on and off. So now that we have an avatar at the very beginning of the project that will start talking as I open the project,
AI or
there's a simple way to turn off that sound right up the top bar. So a lot of things and a lot of options can be added from here. Again, I'll remind you of the possibility to increase or decrease font size. This top bar, unless you explicitly choose to hide it, will be present on all devices. So if we were to simulate a phone, it's still there. I have the same options. Toggle sound is now down here. It's hidden because it's a little bit squished, but I do have the possibility to still use this top bar no matter what device I'm using. And again, I can choose any of these buttons, or I can add my own buttons. Very important though for the learner or the user to be able to utilize this top bar to 100% of its potential. I would recommend that you set the bar's behavior to bars always present, which means that yes, this top bar here might interfere with content. It will always show at the top. So if I scroll down, the bar will always be on my screen, but that also means that it's more accessible. If I decide to choose bars remain behind scroll, they will always be at the top of the page. And if I scroll down in order to access the bar again, I would need to scroll all the way to the top. And the opportunistic appearance of bars means that if I scroll down, the bars disappear, and I only need to scroll down once for them to appear again. But again, it's probably, I mean, it's not always on the screen. There needs to be a little bit of effort to have the bar be displayed. Um, I think this covers most of the options, or most of the options that are readily accessible and things that you can configure and things that you can do to make content more accessible. I didn't talk about color configurations. I didn't talk about contrast or any form of accessibility that comes with content, because content is all up to use the user and the way you decide to create your courses or your e-learning materials. So it's up to you to select the best contrast. We have, because we want to leave our users 100% freedom, creative freedom, we don't signal when something is wrong in terms of content, obviously. We don't interfere with you creating the content. There are more rules, though, in terms of accessibility, and these are related to how you maybe set your project, how you structure it, what colors you choose, what fonts you choose. But again, this is not very technical. This is, or it is technical, but it's outside the scope of our meeting tonight. If you have any questions, either if you're again watching us on YouTube or here in Zoom and have any questions, please either turn on your microphone or leave me a comment. If not, I'll remind you that these meetings take place once every 2 weeks on Thursdays. So we'll meet again on Thursday in 2 weeks' time. The time is 6 p.m. CET or 7 p.m. Eastern European time. It really depends on where you are. All the recordings are saved automatically to Facebook, but we also upload them to YouTube. So you can find us. If you're not able to join us live, you can always find the recording. And if there are no questions, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope this was useful, and I hope you've learned a little bit about how or what options LIVRESQ offers to to make your content more accessible. And I'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.